Happy holidays, everyone. And speaking of holidays, I decided to treat the family, mostly myself, by picking up a HomePod for our TV. Now, this thing has been pretty great so far. My experience with it has been above average, I would say, but I don't really have anything to compare this against. So I want to know from you guys, what would you recommend as an alternative to this for a soundbar or for additional speakers for a TV? Now, I don't need something crazy elaborate. I need something that's maybe around $350 or less, preferably less, and is, I don't know, just really good. It doesn't have to be some audiophile level type equipment. We've been using TV speakers for, well, as long as I can remember, and having the HomePod has actually been a really nice step up from those TV speakers. But I feel like I'm leaving something on the table, because while this is really good, it's not quite there, if that makes any sense. But nonetheless, I still want to talk about the HomePod and what we may end up doing with this, and also in the future as well. So far, this has been one of the most simple products I've ever purchased from Apple. Now, I had some trouble connecting it initially to our HomeKit, but once I figured it all out, it was relatively simple to integrate into HomeKit. Now, this is also an introduction for me to home automation. Not that I really have anything. I do have an IQPanel, but unfortunately my IQPanel does not work with HomeKit at this time. So while you guys are thinking about recommending me some alternatives to this, I would also like to ask that you keep in mind that I'd like it to work with HomeKit, and relatively easily, because I am lazy. I don't want to jump through hoops just to get something to work. Now, the sound on this thing actually blew me away. It's really small and looks fantastic underneath the mantle, and it's not an eyesore by any means. Now, what I'm afraid of with most soundbars is they're quite long and they're like that cheap plastic looking material, and that kind of scares me off a little bit, especially if they're glossy. So when one of my friends recommended to get this over a soundbar, I was pretty excited because it looks great, and I didn't even know that it worked with the Apple 4K TV. And honestly, I don't hear any sort of latency or delay when using apps like YouTube or HBO Now or Go or Max, whatever they're calling it, Apple TV, and all the other regular TV apps that you'll find. The only time I've run into issues is with Twitch, but I'm starting to think that's more of a Twitch problem and less of an Apple problem.
The snowman is running through wearing down. He's one.
As someone who doesn't have anything to compare this against, and also not being an audiophile, I'd say this is pretty good, and it's integrated nicely with all of our Apple devices. Yes, I am somewhat of an Apple fanboy, unfortunately, but I've got to say the environment is just nice and it just works. Well, so far anyway. Now, you guys have probably seen a lot of videos on this and know more about it than I do. But one of the reasons that I was sold on this specifically is because apparently you can actually take two of them and pair them together so you get more of a surround sound type feeling, which I didn't even know was a thing. I'm guessing Apple might have snuck that in on the release of their mini one, and honestly, I'm dying to try that out, but I just don't have the money to fork over for a second one at this time. And that also goes for your recommendations. If you guys do recommend me something, it might be a while until I buy that. So there's not really much I can say to you guys for this, but I definitely like this style. Like, it doesn't catch the eye. It's definitely not an eyesore. It has really great sound, and it fills the entire living room with audio, which I really, really like. And this braided cable is really nice, even though it's hidden. And what's nice about this too is because it's so tall, it actually sits beneath the TV and you can't even see any of the cables at all. And of course it's wireless, so there's nothing else that needs to be plugged in. But I think one of my major problems with it is, let's say that I want to hook up the Xbox in the future, or if I want to hook up my Steam Link in the future, I can't pair those with this. Or I probably could, but it might not give me that easy experience. Like, I'm always gonna have to go in there, enable Bluetooth, and pair it, and it's not a lot of work, but it's just not that great, especially if you just have something plugged into like a soundbar at all times, and when you change sources, it just works. Like, that to me is way more ideal than having to play around with Bluetooth every time I wanna like play Steam Link or something like that. Now, I can drop the Steam Link device, because this actually is capable of doing Steam streaming with the app, and I no longer need that Steam link. So that's probably something I could drop. And honestly, it's really rare when I even play Xbox on there anyway, but I would still like to have something that can compete with this in that sense, that where I can have multiple sources in the future, even because I don't know what's going to come out in the future. So it would just be nice to have that just in case. Well, I think I'm going to end the video here because I'm really just looking for your opinions, and I'm not really going to go into too much detail about the HomePod. I can say it's been great so far, but again, I'd really like to hear from you guys and see what you guys can bring to the table that might be better than this, because I'm afraid of buying something and being very disappointed with it, especially if it's for a TV, because if I keep it, I may not be able to return it if I hate it, or I could get banned by Amazon for buying it and returning too many things, or something like that. So I think this is a safe bet because it's got multi-uses. I can listen to music, I can go anywhere in the house, and anyone can use it with their iPhones or whatever it may be. So buying something like this, I felt like was a pretty safe buy. And when it comes to TV audio, I'm definitely a lot more hesitant, and I could go to a Best Buy and listen to a lot of the soundbars they have, but with that big open environment, I feel like it's not the right setting, and I'm not really hearing what I'll hear when I'm in my living room, if that even makes sense, or if that's even a thing. So again, guys, please, please, please leave comments below and let me know what you guys use at home, or what you think would integrate great with HomeKit, because that would be great. And thanks. Enjoy the holidays, and I'll see you all very soon.